So please tell us about your company. You started your company, but it's been 4 years. It's called ElectricFish, and all we know is that it deals with enabling power and energy. Tell us what it actually does.
Well, so ElectricFish, early stage startup in the Bay Area, we are in the business of rebuilding our electrical grids. And we do that through both hardware, that is physical, and digital or software products. So the physical device is a really big battery. It's 6 feet by 4 feet big box, which can act as a community level backup energy device. So you have energy stored for multiple homes in a community. And this unit can also do very extremely fast EV charging. So deliver hundreds of miles of range to electric cars in just 5 minutes. So the idea is that we build a big unit, drop it into existing infrastructure, and can do very fast charging and act as a backup energy. And this is where the digital part comes in. So the software is able to directly talk to electrical utility servers, can use existing data to plan for when exactly an electrical outage will happen, and can have the energy stored and feed energy back in the times the electrical grid is having a crisis or a flex alert event, which happens in the Bay Area. Our goal is to build a network of these assets which fundamentally change how electrical grid works today. And we are just scratching the surface. Yeah.
Okay, so you have maybe, like you said, a 4 feet by 6 feet battery. How many homes or cars, let's say homes, how many homes can it power and for how long?
Yeah, so there are 2 variants of the product. Even if the size of the battery is the same, depending upon how it's connected to the grid will change how many homes it can power. One variant, which is 40 kilowatt variant, can power around 40 homes, or the 100 kilowatt variant can power maybe 80 to 90 homes for almost a day.
For a whole day?
Yeah.
And then it gets recharged from the grid and also from the sun. How do you set this up, the installation?
So solar needs to be available.
Of course.
Right? So there is one critical thing to know how electrical utilities work today. The Net Metering 3.0 initiative that basically talks about how electrical utilities enable local solar, right? Can homes have their own solar? Can communities have their own solar or wind, so to speak, right? So any kind of local generation kind of hinders on how electrical utilities work today, because when electrical utilities have a lot of sun and they already have surplus power, that is when the communities have power to sell back as well. And electrical utilities are like, why would you take power from me now, right? So if a community will have its own storage, then we can store energy locally during that time. And similarly, if electrical utilities had a fleet of these units out there, they can also promote local storage generation or local wind generation. So that is why we can absorb any local solar or wind, and we basically will enable communities to do that themselves.
Tell us a little bit, how did this idea come to you? How did you thought about starting this company, and how did you do it?
The timelines are not incredibly clear. It was somewhere between writing my thesis in Michigan Tech and then my job at BMW when I was working on electric vehicles. So the first idea was to crack community level storages, right? There is residential storage, and Tesla is doing that by the power walls, or there are multiple companies which build you energy storage at your home. And electrical utilities are doing it at a centralized scale to do a big battery outside the city, which can store the energy. The idea was, and what I was trying to figure it out, is how do you do a network of community batteries, small batteries which are distributed. That was the fundamental thing which I was trying to crack through a business model. And the business model came to me when I was working at BMW, when we were trying to work on what should be the charging speeds which we should enable in the cars, right? And that is a careful balance about the health of the battery, longevity of the battery, as well as what kind of charging technologies are available in the market, right?
Because if you charge too fast or too much, the battery's life will decrease, right?
Yeah, a little bit nuanced than that. You know, it's not just the charging speed, it's also a term called depth of discharge. So how much you charge from what SOC to what SOC. And then we can go into the rabbit hole on how batteries works and how ions transfer from one cathode to anode, you know. And then it's just basically how fast you're charging and how long you're charging it for is the two different metrics which decide the aging of a cell, right? So that is what we're working on, of course, but charging rates, of course, is one of the big ones, right? And you just cannot build fast charging infrastructure because the electrical grid was not built for it. It is old, and we'll talk more about that as well today. But yeah, this is why this business model came to me, that you can use community scale batteries to do very fast EV charging if you integrate these two problems together. And I kept talking about this idea in the Bay Area, going to different events, renewable energy events, and like power people. And at one point of time, I met my co-founders in a hackathon, and the company started from then.
And you got some investment to help you get started?
During that time, it was more like time from lawyers and different like startup people, startup guy, Rand Kushner, I don't know if you know him, but also some credits, getting our website going and stuff. But yeah, we did get investments 6 months after that. This was through Princeton Alumni Angels, and then we have since raised few rounds of capital.
Now, how would you say your solution is different than, for example, the Tesla battery? I think they I don't know if they have similar products as yours, but I know they have a lot of different products. How would you differentiate yourself?
So Tesla is one of the best, for sure, in terms of batteries chemistry. But you have to look in terms of which different different segments there are. So there's EV batteries, there's the electric vehicle batteries. Tesla is purely vertically integrated. They make the cells, they do the research on how the battery aging works, and they make the packs. They actually went to structural packs as well. So they're doing it really well. And then they are doing it on a residential scale as well, the Tesla Powerwalls, and then utility scale, mega packs as well. But what we are trying to do, we are not going head to head with them. We are doing it on a community scale. That means we are enabling either MUDs, multi-unit dwellings, or small to mid-sized businesses to enable having storage at site, participate in grid services, also do very fast charging, which is not the model which Tesla likes to operate.
They are more per individual home.
Yeah,
right?
Either individual homes, or they go to utilities, and they do their own charging stations as well, but they like to own the whole infrastructure and make big depots, more centralized still, which is required, of course, but that's not what we are trying to do. We are going towards decentralization, maybe 2 to 4 charging ports to every business as compared to like 60 ports at one site. Yeah.
Now, I know you're talking about redoing or replacing the current electrical grid pretty much completely. Tell us, what do you think is wrong with the grid right now?
Yeah, replacing is not the right term. I think it's transforming the electrical grid. So our electrical grid is old. Really old. It was built at 1920s to 1940s. During that time, at least the majority of that infrastructure. And during that time, we used to build or generate energy using centralized power plants, natural gas, coal. But a lot has changed in the last 80 years. Now energy can be decentralized. Even a home can generate its own energy. And the power consumption patterns which happened over time, in which we kept patching the electrical grids up, like when the radios transformed into TVs, and then we had these ACs. So load kept adding up.
Not to mention the cars, right?
Yeah, and the cars are the latest one, right? Now electric cars are most significant loads which are being suddenly added to the electrical grid, right? So far as the electrical utilities, which are one of the oldest industries standing today, they kept patching up their electrical grids to incorporate more and more demand. But now the sudden change of electric vehicles, adding into the fact that they are also trying to change their generation from centralized to more like renewable, which can be decentralized, that all of this is a perfect storm which is requiring electrical grids to fundamentally change. Now, you would not like to live without power for a month, right? If your grid is being rebuilt suddenly, right? If it's being changed. So we need technologies which can transform the electrical grid in a way that it's non-obtrusive and it continues to keep operating. And that is what we're trying to do here, right? Our technology works with the existing local electrical grid, the distribution infrastructure. You hook it up with the same infrastructure, do bidirectional transfer of power, digitally learn how the power is required and take energy in or feed energy back, and that you can rebuild the grid, do very fast charging, can enable local renewable energy without fundamentally changing how the grid works. So it is a transformation of the grid architecture, which we're trying to enable here.
How does it feel for you to live the American dream, especially coming from a different country? You know, this is what many people hope for, right? To start a company and become successful.
I feel incredibly grateful. I feel humbled. Again, I said being here is all the resources which the state of California, the Energy Commission, and the country, United States provides is just unparalleled. You know, the American dream is really thriving. No matter what you're told, I really feel it. Every day. But also, it's we're just starting to taste success. There is much further for us to go, and I'm just humbled, and I'm very grateful that I get to do this every day, and I hope there's much longer to go, miles to go before I sleep.
Now let me ask you a practical question, because like you said, these days we use electric batteries for so many things, like for bikes, e-bikes, lawnmowers, there's so many things. Is it better to charge it as soon, like let's say you use your e-bike for 10 minutes or half an hour, and it's maybe 70% the battery is used. Is it better to charge it right away or wait till it goes to 50 or 40 or 20?
That's an excellent question. Remember when I talked about depth of discharge on how much you deplete the battery and charge it back up, and the rates of charge?
Yes.
There is also a thing about calendar aging. And calendar aging means that when the battery is not being used or is just sitting idle, then how much it loses capacity over time, right? And calendar aging is directly proportional to how much the battery is charged, okay? So you don't want to keep your battery 100% all the time. We do that. We do it for our laptops. We do it for just stands in which we fill it up. And there is work going on in terms of design of the batteries and just how exactly the BMS works to not get it to full charge so that it can last longer. But yeah, it's not the best idea for you to have your batteries always fully charged.
But also not too low, right?
Yeah, not too low also puts the stress on the other side. So mid ranges it's technically the best. I've read otherwise in the literature a few times that you can have more having more depleted is better than fully charged. That's definitely, but even more than 50%. But intuitively, based on my understanding, I think the mid ranges is the best to keep your battery for long term. Yeah.